Hello, good people. We are here for story time. So my name is Dasha. You already know you're on my page, and I'm saying hello and waving to all of the parents out there. And I'm leaning in and giving a whisper hello to all the little people. I know you're not little. So I know how much I enjoyed, of course, going to story time. That is absolutely how and why I became a writer and a storyteller. And to be able to have that time with my daughter and my niece and my bonus babies, and the time we were able to go into classrooms and just share that story time. One of the favorite parts of story time was making up a new ending. So this is how the story ended. But then what else could have happened? Or what happened after the story ended? Because we know, like life, there's always a story after the story. So we're going to have, I have 4 stories I'm going to share, and I'm going to share them in order of who should be going to sleep first. So our first one is going to be I Like Myself, which is a story for, and this is for all of the young people, but especially for our younger munchkins. This is going to be age appropriate. I would say the preschoolers. And, oh, excuse me. And then we'll go to Aloha Adventure. And this is a twofer. So this story is for K4. Watch this. You ready? Bam. And then part 2 is for K5. And by that point, our big kids, our munchkins, hopefully will be fluttering with their eyes. Parents, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. And then by the time I get to this last story, which again is for all of the young people, but especially for our young people who are pre-reading, who are picking out words, who are able to do sight words, who are reading whole sentences, and who are aspiring towards chapter books. For all of us, whether you loved reading as a kid or not, that was a huge marker. Remember that? When you would go from the picture books to the books with long sentences to chapter books. Oh, don't get me started. So I feel we have some folks online and ready to go. And parents, so that you know, in between each of the stories, we'll take a little breather and we'll have a chance to kind of connect. Kids, we're going to definitely listen to the story and the things that you like the most. Remember your favorite parts, because I'm going to ask you about them. And even though we're on the screen and you can't tell me, you can tell your parents and then they'll tell me. How about that? So, are we ready for our first story? I'm pretending really hard. All right. So Miss Dasha has to put on her eyes. Hold on, let me see who we have over here. I Like Myself by Karen Beaumont, illustrated by David Catrell. Oh. I forgot to put on my earbuds. Now I'm ready. I like myself. I'm glad I'm me. There's no one else I'd rather be. I like my eyes, my ears, my nose. I like my fingers and my toes. I like me wild. I like me tame. I like me different and the same. I like me fast. I like me slow. I like me everywhere I go. I like me on the inside too, for all I think and say and do. Inside, outside, upside down, from head to toe and all around. I like it all. All is me, and me is all I want to be. And I don't care in any way what someone else may think or say. I may be called a silly nut or crazy cuckoo bird. So what? I'm having too much fun, you see, for anything to bother me. Even when I look a mess, I don't like me any less. Because nothing in this world, can change what's deep inside. And so, no matter if they stop and stare, no person ever, anywhere, can make me feel that what they see is all that there really is to me. I'd still like me with fleas or warts, or with a silly snout that even snorts. Look at her snorty nose. Or knobby knees, or hippo hips, or purple polka dotted lips. Or beaver breath, or stinky toes, or horns protruding from my nose. Or yikes with spikes all down my spine, or hair that's like a porcupine. I still would be the same, you see. I like myself because I'm me. So I'd be curious to know what your favorite part of the story is. So I'm going to go and share you one of my favorite parts. It's this part. I like my eyes, my ears, my nose. I like my fingers and my toes. Can we do that together? Do you like your eyes? Blink your eyes. Do you like your nose? Everybody point to your nose. Can you wiggle your nose? Can you tug your ears? Can you wiggle your fingers? I'm going to try to put my toes on the screen. We're going to see if Miss Dasha can be that limber. Can you wiggle your toes? Oh, I can't get my toes up that high. Can you wiggle your toes there at home? So now I'm going to ask you to do me one more favor before we go to the next story. I want you to look at whoever is in the house that you love and tell them, I like me. So we're all going to say at the count of 3. You ready? 1, 2, 3. I like me. Pretty good. And if you can start there where you like you, then the rest of us, all we can do is like you too. But most important is you like you first. All right. So our next story is a twofer. And it's a story of 2 friends. So I'm going to get adjusted here. Sasha's going to get her eyeglasses back on. All right. This one's a little bit trickier, but these illustrations are gorgeous. All right, let me think here. All right. Wolf sat in the circle, eager for all the fun and activities to begin. He'd waited 3 whole summers to be old enough for the jamboree camp on Alua Beach in Maui, Hawaii. His big brother had always come home with fantastic new stories and songs. Wolf was so excited to be at camp that He was so excited that giggly bubbles danced and tickled inside his belly. Make sure you can see all of this illustration. Okay. Aloha! A small fish with a big voice and bright racing stripes jumped into the center of their circle. He played a tiny guitar called a ukulele and said, "My name is Kumuhumu. I am the camp teacher. In Maui, we greet each other with aloha." Kumuhumu strummed and strolled and hummed. He stopped right in front of Wolf, who was pleased that Kumuhumu had picked him. "What is your name?" Kumuhumu asked. "Jimmy," answered Wolf. "Ah, in Hawaiian, the name for Jimmy is Kimo," Kumuhumu said. "Should we use your Hawaiian name this week?" Wolf nodded excitedly. Okay. "Aloha, Kimo Wolf," welcomed Kumuhumu. "Aloha is a greeting, but it is also a way of life. Every time you say hello or farewell, we're reminded to take care of one another." Kimo and the other campers practiced shaping their mouths around the new word, while Kumuhumu played his ukulele. "Aloha! Aloha! Aloha!" Okay. "Freeze!" Kumuhumu shouted. Kimo excelled at the freeze game. He didn't twitch a whisker. One of the other campers, Ilani Whale, was beside him. She was so perfectly still that she didn't even move a fin. Kimo and Ilani were matched as spirit keepers. They looked at one another, then back at the teacher, and both asked, "What's a spirit keeper?" Kumuhumu smiled and explained, "Being a spirit keeper means you care for me and I care for you. We are all connected. It's called the Aloha spirit." Maui blossomed all around Kimo and Ilani in brilliant colors. There were also new animal sounds and sweet smelling breezes. Kimo told Ilani all about his forest home in Wisconsin, its winter snow, and the smell of pine trees. He talked about so many favorite places and things that his words left no room for Ilani to talk about hers. Wonderful. Okay. There we go. One morning, Kimo found Ilani on the beach with Auntie Honu, an ancient sea turtle. In Maui, women elders were called aunties out of respect. She greeted Kimo with slow words that floated to him like a song. Auntie Huno said she swam the ocean for 100 years to get a voice like that. "How are you, Kimo?" Auntie Humo said. Kimo told her all about meeting the new red-crested cardinal and the bushy-tailed mongoose while he ate pineapples and papaya for breakfast. Auntie Hunu nodded, pleased. "You're having a wonderful time here at the Jamboree camp," she said. Kimo smiled at Auntie Honu and at Ilani, but his friend seemed quiet. Staring out to where the sky and the ocean crease, Kimo turned worried eyes to Auntie Honu. Spirit keepers try to listen as much as they share, Auntie Honu said sweetly. I bet Alani could use a great listener right now. Auntie Honu scratched Kimo behind his ear, patted Ilani on her side, and trotted away. Kimo scooted closer, and Ilani leaned against her friend. Your forest and family in Wisconsin sound amazing, Kimo, she explained. I have so many things to tell you about my ocean home, but I don't know where to start. Kimo felt his mouth fall open. The ocean is your home? He said. Astounded, Alani grinned and began to tell Kimo all about the coral reefs, all about the deep waters and her school near the reefs. She bragged about the seal, the octopus, and the turtle, who were all her best friends. Suddenly, Alani squealed. She leapt up onto the back of her tail fin and pointed far out across the blue. They're here! Kimo jumped up too, squinting his eyes to make out the stampede of waves coming their way. My mama and new baby brother are finally here, Ilani said. One by one, Auntie Honu, Kumuhumu, and all the camp pals joined Kimo and Ilani on the beach. Ilani explained that in Maui, family includes more than relatives. It's called Ohana, she said, as all of Jamboree Camp danced, hugged, and laughed together, celebrating Ilani's new brother. Ohana means we are family. I guess I talk a lot, Kimo admitted, once the campers had gone. No kidding, Ilana teased, bumping him playfully. Your stories are cool, so I don't mind, she said. Besides, when I was ready to talk, you were ready to listen. You're the best spirit keeper and friend. Mahalo. That means thank you. Kimo stayed on the beach watching Ilani and her family splashing around in wide circles. Kimo was so happy for Ilani. It felt like he had a new little brother too. Kimo remembered Humukumu's words. You care for me, I care for you. He felt connected to Ilani and all his new friends in Maui. Kimo was filled with the aloha spirit. I love stories about friends. Don't you love stories about friends? Oh, When you have a really good friend, whether you have a lot of friends or one good friend, it just does so much, especially when you're able to make mistakes and the friend is going to let you make a mistake. Hopefully they'll tell you you made a mistake and then maybe they'll help you fix it. So I think Ilani and Chemo are going to be really good friends. In fact, why don't you tell someone in the house who's with you, what do you like about your friend? Let's see. I heard you say you like your friend because they're funny. I heard you say you like your friend because they share their snacks. I heard you say you like your friend because they listen to you. And you like your friend because you both like the same comic books? Huh. Sometimes you can like friends and you like completely different things. Oh, but we definitely want to make sure that we're good to our friends so that our friends know that we're there for them too. So the other part of this story, are you ready to go on? Okay. I think I'm getting the hang of this. Okay. Why is Miss Dasha trying to read without her glasses? All right. Chemo Wolf lived in a forest among the tall evergreen trees. One morning, he looked up past the snow-coated branches to see new spring clouds dotting the wide sky. The end of one season was the greeting to the beginning of another, and Chemo couldn't wait to share the day with his friends. He tidied his bed of leaves, neatly stacked his collection of pine cones and stick toys, and hurried through his breakfast. "You're excited this morning, Jimmy," his mother said with a smile. She liked his Hawaiian nickname, but preferred the name she'd given him. "Have fun with your friends. See you at lunchtime." Chemo walked silently through his forest home, following the trees until he reached the river. He sat down and turned on his tablet. 1, 2, 3 clicks, and his tablet made a ding sound. His friend Alani Whale filled the screen. "Aloha, Chemo!" she exclaimed. Alani and Chemo were great friends who happened to live far apart. He lived in the woods of Ashland, Wisconsin, and she spent her winters in the ocean near Maui, Hawaii. The river tumbled by slowly, glittering with the morning sunlight. "The ice melts and the river flows when the winter changes to spring," Chemo explained. "What's going on over there?" Alani asked. Some of Chemo's friends were gathered at the river edge. Cesar Cardinal and DeAndre Deer and Braxton Beaver waved when Chemo showed them Ilani's face on his tablet. Chemo had connected his island friends and his woodland friends with a video chat many times. "Hey, Ilani," they all greeted. "Aloha, everybody," Ilani replied. "Chemo is showing me the winter and spring on the same day." DeAndre said, "This is the time of year when we watch the snow melt and the flowers grow." Chemo pointed at the camera at the wisp of green stretching up from the earth again. DeAndre bounded into the photo and shouted, "Selfie time!" The other animals laughed. This little sprout has been waiting patiently inside a seed all winter, Chemo explained. It will bud to become a wood violet, the official Wisconsin state flower. Chemo tapped a few keys to bring an image to the screen. Elani said, "Oh, that's pretty. Our state flower is the hibiscus. Blooms all year." Cesar hopped closer to the screen, excitedly spread his wings wide, and said to Alani, "Spring is also the time when worms taste the best." The other animals groaned. "My friend Kai loves worms too," Alani replied. "You both are cardinals. Some Hawaiian cardinals wear red feathers on their crests. Wisconsin cardinals wear feathers all over." Caesar hopped up and down, chirp, chirp, chirping at the screen. Chemo stopped to admire the beginning of a nest. Alani leaned her face close to see its tangle of twigs, stems, and leaves. "Another kind of animal, another kind of home," she said. "So many animals have homes at the edge of the forest," Chemo said. "It's near a cranberry marsh that grows nearby. Cranberry farmers have been careful neighbors so that the animals and so that into the land. The marsh comes to life this time of year. It's one of my favorite spring places." Chemo searched online for an image of cranberry buds in the spring marsh and posted #springtime. Alani liked the pictures and typed, "Thoughtful neighbors are the best neighbors." The friends followed the curve of the forest until they reached a stack of logs and dirt. Tucker Badger lived here in a tunnel of homes called a set. Kilimo and Ilani were giggling loudly when Tucker poked his head through a hole in a thick mound of dirt. "Shh," he said, squinting his eyes at the daylight. Tucker and his badger family were nocturnal, which means they slept when most families of animals were awake. Tucker noticed Alani on the screen. "Morning," he whispered. "What are you two up to?" "Aloha, Tucker," Alani said. "Chemo is showing me the signs of spring in Wisconsin." A rapidly tapping sound echoed deep inside the forest. "Oh, woodpeckers," Tucker said, yawning. "They use their beaks to peck holes in the maple trees. Ah, that's my noisy sign of spring." Tucker rubbed his sleepy eyes, waved goodnight, and lowered himself back down into his home. As they walked, Chemo whispered to Alani, "For beetles, birds, and even humans, a noisy woodpecker means delicious maple sap. It looks and tastes like liquid sunshine." "Your forest reminds me of coral reefs growing here in the ocean." She turned her screen to show Chemo the stretch of coral that carpeted her ocean floor. "Forest trees give animals food, protection, and homes the way coral reefs help jellyfish, crabs, and hundreds of fish families." As they both walked and talked, both Chemo and Alani admired the vivid images of their screens. "I have an ocean of blue waters," Alani finally said, "and you have a land of green pine needles." They laughed from their bellies. Chemo was glad to have Alani as a friend. It's wonderful to see your forest family taking care of the river, the plants, and the marsh fields, and they're all together with each other, Alani said. Here, we call it the Aloha spirit. Kimo remembered his special trip to Maui and felt a tiny smile inside his heart. He thought about their conversation and said, taking care of our families and our land, that's the Wisconsin way. The two friends nodded in agreement and ding, disconnected. Kimo looked up through the snowy branches. The sun was shining down on him. The spring morning with his friends made his whole day feel bright. What is your favorite part of springtime? I like the flowers. I like how the sun feels new because in the wintertime, it's so many clouds and the sky is gray. And we're spring and sort of into summer. So what is something that you notice outside? Just like our friends here notice the flowers coming up, woodpeckers in the distance. What are some things that you notice when you are out in spring? Tell somebody in the house. What do you notice? I didn't think of that one. So we heard birds, we said flowers, we talked about the wind, about the breeze, and people on their bicycles. That's also a good sign. So people are part of nature too. Oh, so we have one more story. I'm so glad that we were able to spend this time sharing stories together. And this is called The Word Collector by Peter Reynolds. All right. Dasha's getting it together. Collectors collect things. Some people collect stamps. Some people collect coins. Others collect rocks. Some collect art. Some collect bugs. Some collect baseball cards. Some people collect comic books. And Jerome, what did he collect? Jerome collected words. He collected words he heard. Certain words just caught his attention. He collected words he saw. Certain words jumped out at him. He collected words he read. Certain words popped off the page. Short and sweet words, two-syllable treats, and multi-syllable words that sounded like little songs. There were words he did not know the meaning at first, but they were marvelous to say. And there were words whose sounds were perfectly suited to their meaning. Jerome filled his scrapbooks with more and more of his favorite words. Jerome's collections grew. He began organizing them. Dream, science, sad, action, poetic. One day, while transporting them, Jerome slipped and his words went flying. As he began to pick them up, he noticed his collections became jumbled. Big words were next to little words. Sad words were next to dreamy words. Jerome began stringing words together, words that he had not imagined side by side. He used his words to write poems. He used his poems to write songs. Some of his simplest words were his most powerful. You're doing a great job, parents. Thank you. Nope. Yep. Jerome eagerly collected more and more of his favorite words. The more words he knew, the more clearly he could share with the world what he was thinking, feeling, and dreaming. One breezy afternoon, Jerome climbed the highest hill, pulling a wagon packed with his word collection. He smiled as he emptied his collection of words onto the wind. He saw children in the valley below, scurrying about, collecting words from the breeze. Jerome had no words to describe how happy that made him. There are so many words. Before we go, you can look to the person who's in the room that you love. Maybe not your favoriteest word, but what's one word that you love? My favorite word is if. If. What's your favorite word? Peanut? Oh, well, if that's your favorite word, then that's your favorite word. And I want you to hold all of your favorite words and make sure you tell your own stories. So what do you think happened to the townspeople, all the village children, when they picked up their words that Jerome put onto the wind? What do you think happened next? You can work on that story, and remember, whatever you decide, that's the story. There's no wrong way to do it because we all are storytellers. Thank you for taking the time. I hope that you enjoy these stories. I certainly hope that you will pick these up and other little stories and make up your own. And definitely want to thank Arts at Large for making this, for coordinating this for our youngest neighbors. We often forget about our munchkins. So, and thank you, parents, for putting them in front of a healthy screen. I know, it's hard, I know. But thank you, everyone. Blueberry. And we're going to end with Sean's favorite word, which is blueberry. Have an amazing night and even better tomorrow. I think somebody said that. Is that Katie Couric? I got to think of my own. How do you end a storytelling? There's usually, before I get inappropriate. Thank you, everyone.